Genesis chapter 22. This story that we're going to read is a well-known story for those who may have grown up in church, but in the stories that we grew up on, sometimes there's some things that God doesn't allow us to see until we're a little older, because we won't understand it. So Genesis chapter 22. Is everyone there? Amen. All right, praise God. Verse 1. Sometime later, God tested Abraham. He said to him, Abraham, here I am, Abraham replied. Then God said, take your son, your only son who you love, Isaac, and go to the region of Moriah. Sacrifice him there as a burnt offering on a mountain I will show you. Verse 3. Early the next morning, Abraham got up and loaded his donkey. He took with him 2 of his servants and his son Isaac. So remember, it was just him, his 2 servants, and his son. When he had cut enough wood for the burnt offering, he set out for the place God had told him about. On the 3rd day, Abraham looked up and saw the place in the distance. He said to his servants, stay here with the donkey while I and the boy go over there. Remember, it was just him and the boy going to the place he saw. We will worship, and then we will come back to you. Verse 6, Abraham took the wood for the burnt offering and placed it on his son Isaac, and he himself carried the fire and the knife. As the two of them went on together, Isaac spoke up and said to his father Abraham, Father? Yes, my son, Abraham replied. The fire and the wood are here, Isaac said, but where is the lamb for the burnt offering? Abraham answered, God himself will provide the lamb for the burnt offering, my son. And the 2 of them went on together. When they reached the place God had told him, Abraham built an altar there and arranged the wood on it. He bound his son Isaac and laid him on the altar on top of the wood. Then he reached out his hand and took the knife to slay his son. But the angel of the Lord called out to him from heaven, Abraham, Abraham! Here I am, he replied. Do not lay a hand on the boy, he said. Do not do anything to him. Now I know that you fear God, because you have not withheld from me your son, your only son. Abraham looked up, and there in a thicket, in a bush, he saw a ram caught by its horns. He went over and took the ram and sacrificed it as a burnt offering instead of his son. You all may be seated. May the Lord have blessed to the readers and the doers of his holy word. As a custom here at New Life, hold up your word, whether it be electronic, whether it be paper bound. I am, because it says I am. I can, because it says I can. I will, because it says I will. Thanks be to God that I have new life. Let's go to work. All right, so in this passage of scripture, we have Abraham. Just in case you didn't know, at this time, he was old. Like old. Like, not just us saying, oh, my body hurts and I must be old. He was old. He was at the place in life where he's like, why do anything else but prepare to die, right? But in his life, Abraham has gone through a bunch of stuff. He's gone through a lot of things that required him to strengthen his faith. So I'm going to take us through a little bit of Abraham's life to show us what he had to do. And through all of this, I want you to remember one thing. The yes sealed the deal. The yes sealed the deal. So Abraham was born to his parents when his father was already 70 years old. His father was 70 years old. Abraham was commissioned by God to leave his place of comfort. So Genesis 12 is telling us that he was in the place that he was birthed, in the place that he had grown up. But God was like, look, dude, you gotta go. I need you to be somewhere else. I need you to go. And because Abraham was Abraham, he said yes. So the first yes from Abraham was, yes, Lord, I'll go. So that first yes sealed the deal. Because of Abraham's obedience to God, even at that point of him leaving his place of comfort, his offspring Abraham didn't have kids. Abraham was old, didn't have kids, but his offspring were blessed. So you're telling me that something I don't have is already blessed because I said yes? Okay, God, I see you. You're working, all right. But this is still just chapter 12, y'all. We read from chapter 22. Abram, at the time, his name hadn't been changed. He once again had to separate from something that was comfortable for him. At this time, he was traveling with his whole family, which included his nephew and his nephew's family. But the thing was, their two tribes, they were kind of like the Bloods and Crips. They couldn't get along, but they were on the same camp. So if you have two sides of your same family that's fighting, what do? Not really. What do you do other than join in? What do you do? What should you do? Separate them, right? So he's like, look, nephew, I love you, but you gotta go. Right? But he loves him that so much that it hurt him. But Lot went one way. Abraham had to go the other way. But this was all because God said, y'all gotta separate. And again, Abraham said, yes. So once again, that yes sealed the deal. But then, God is just God, that he once again promised Abram's offspring that he yet had something else. But Abraham is saying, I'm old. I don't have kids. You keep promising stuff to people that ain't here. What are these promises for? Who are they for? All these promises have to go to somebody else. Because I don't have kids. God, why do you keep promising things for people I don't see? Genesis 14, Abram had to go rescue his nephew. As I was growing up, Lot would have been called that knucklehead nephew. So he had to go rescue him because he decided to live in a place that wasn't that good for him. But it worked for him. He got to party. He got to do his thing, so he went. But that place wasn't a good place for him, so Abram had to go and rescue him. So you're telling me my family can even be rescued out of tumultuous situations because I said yes? All right. Because of my obedience, you'll allow me to go get them before their place of surrounding is destroyed? Is that what you're saying, God? God made a covenant with Abram, letting him know that he would indeed have an heir of his own. So he's still promising, you're going to have offspring, you're going to have an heir. Your servant's son is not going to have to take on or not going to have to get everything that should be promised to your offspring. Abram, calm down, son. You'll be all right. I'm promising you this. You said yes to me enough times that I know that you believe in me. Just calm down, son. All right. I promise it's all right. But we're still walking through his life. I'm getting you to the place so you can really see how his yes indeed sealed the deal. In chapter 16, his own wife at the time, Sarai, told him to have a child with somebody else. Right, with one of her slaves. She said, go ahead and just go have a kid with Hagar because I can't have kids. You're old, I'm old, we old together. I can't have kids. Right. Go have a kid with her. Pause right here. Jump to 2019. All right. Y'all, if a woman tells you to go have a kid with somebody else, don't do it. And I can say that wholeheartedly because you can just think about how we respond, right? Sarai responded the same way. In the Bible, she went off. Amen. pause, stop, don't pass go, don't collect $200, don't do it. Because Abram might have been the first oldest that had to be gone off on by his wife because he just said, all right, she said so. And she went off on him before the baby was even born. It had yet been conceived. And Sarai found out, she said, no, I can't. I know I told you to, but I can't handle this. You need to send her and that little baby boy when it's born away. But it had to happen before the baby was born, so Hagar left. But guess what happened? God sent her back. So we oftentimes say yes to something that seals a deal we don't really care for because it wasn't God, right? So where was Sarai's mind? Sarai's mind was, I just want to do what's best for him, but did she ask God? So we can have a bunch of deals, but which one is worth sealing is a question. So because of all this misery she was going through, Hagar, her son had to be named Ishmael. Because she went through all this craziness. She went through all this misery, so he was going to be wild because that's what she went through, and that's what his name means. Because she went through all of that, and this was indeed Abram's first official child. So let's think back. He had been saying yes to God, and God kept saying, I will give you offspring, and look. He has something that he never thought he had. But keep that in your mind for a few more minutes. In chapter 16, Abram became Abraham. Sarai became Sarah because God said it's time for your shift to take place. At that moment, they were promised a son together. They're still old. But guess what? They're even older now. They're really old. Sarah is 89. Abraham is 99. Y'all, I don't want to have kids past 40. 89 and 99. All because I said yes to God. Hold on. Do I need to change the response? God had been promising them these things all this time. So because he promised, I believe they are right. But I think, he created me when he did, because I would have been like, you know what? Let me go back and change my answer. I don't know if I can say yes. But they were promised their son together. Amen. Because they were promised a son, Sarah and Abraham, by God, that was the child who would in turn get the inheritance of God. But then you may be thinking, well, what about Ishmael? Well, Abraham didn't forget about him either. He said, God, look, okay, I love you, you love me. We're all a part of your family, right? Don't forget my son Ishmael. You promised all this stuff to Isaac. Don't forget my son Ishmael. I know he's wild. I know that's what he was brought into, but don't forget my son. God says, because you've been faithful to me, I won't forget your son. He too will be blessed, but the one I have promised you and your wife is the one that will gain all of the inheritance. So in that very moment, think of Abraham's mindset. I have to release one of my kids to take hold of one of my others. I have to virtually forget about Ishmael to take after Isaac. But Ishmael was my firstborn. But Isaac is the one with the inheritance. All right, so Ishmael, I love you. You and your mom, you have to go. I don't want to let you go, but I've already said yes, and that yes sealed the deal. And then we go on a little bit more. Then we have that knucklehead nephew again. This knucklehead nephew went somewhere else that he shouldn't have been. that he was living in. And this place was Sodom and Gomorrah. And in Sodom and Gomorrah, they was just partying. I'll say college campus. I went to an HBCU, an historically black college. Yes, it's fun, right? Freshman year, oh, we're away from home. Wow. Y'all don't do it. But they were just partying. That was them. I shouldn't have been there. God said, look, Abraham, I'm destroying these places. You might want to go get your family. So because Abraham said yes to God all those years ago, he was given time to go rescue his family. So once again, my family can get rescued out of devastation. Because I said yes to God all those years ago, because my faith has been so steadfast that I too believe that you can do anything, God. So you'd allow me to travel all that way? You'd spare days and days and days on their lives just because I can go get my family? Amen. So my yes saved his life. So I thought, God, how deep my faith must be if one word can change a whole circumstance. All right. So yes, we call on his name. We say Jesus because we know his name holds that much power. But what do you put before and after you say his name? Jesus, I might. Jesus, probably. Or how often do you sincerely say, yes, Jesus. Jesus, yes, I will. Jesus, I know you can. That yes, sincerely seals that deal. When Isaac was actually born, when he came to, Abraham was a whole 100 years old. An entire 100. Sarah was a whole 90. All right. Hallelujah. It still boggles my mind. I've heard the story how many years, but my blessing comes when I'm done with everything else. At 90 and 100, what else am I going to do? Nothing. Just sit. I might run a race or walk it swiftly. But their biggest blessing came when there was nothing else really left for them to do. At that place in life, when there's nothing else to do, that's when Abraham gets his hardest test too. So Abraham, look, son, look. You've been faithful to me all these years. You said yes to me so many times. Guess what? You get to go sacrifice your son. You said you loved me. All right. You said you believed what I said. You said you would pray to me. Go sacrifice your son. So, two of his servants, come on. He grabbed one of his donkeys. He grabbed his son, who at this point was his only son, because Ishmael was out with his mom, starting their life somewhere else, right? Amen. Isaac had to carry his own cross at this point. He carried the wood. He was carrying his own cross up this mountain. Abraham carried the fire and the knife. That's important to know because Abraham's faith got him through a lot. And so we often say that Jesus is that fire. Right? All right. So Abraham is carrying the Spirit with him up this mountain. He then has this knife that he has to cut through his son with. He has to pierce his son, who yet has no fault. At most times, kids walking with their parents. I probably did it with my parents often. It's probably like, Jessica, hush. We're walking, and I know our destination, but I don't see the things we need for where we're going. Isaac says, Dad, where's the sacrifice? We're going to sacrifice something. Where's the lamb, dude? We're walking up this hill. I got the wood, you got the fire and the knife. But where's the sacrifice? We have all the materials, but we're missing one thing. We're missing the one thing that drips the blood. You're sacrificing it because it has this blood in it, but it's just two of us. We left the servant and the donkey now. What are we going to do? Something isn't right. What's going on? We're question answering people. Right? But for Abraham to have to listen to all that and his only response to be, God will supply. Yes. What kind of faith does that take? Because if we go back a little, he told his two servants that my son and I are going up this mountain, but we will be back. We will return. But it was only the two of them going up. So what caused Abraham to be able to say, we will be back? Because he knew God wasn't going anywhere. So he wasn't saying that me and God will be back, because God is there. He's saying the two of us that are walking up this mountain will be back. I dare to believe it's because when God told him to sacrifice his son, he said, yes. So he believed God that much to say, yes, I will. Yes, it hurts, but we'll be back. We'll make it through. Isaac was bound up. He was tied up. When I thought about this, I thought about that song. We learned it in Vacation Bible School when I was about 5. Wrapped up, tied up, tangled all up in Jesus. Isaac was literally the lyrics of that song. He was wrapped up with rope. He was tied up with that rope. And he was tangled up because he couldn't get out himself. But because God never intended for him to actually die, this rope, it wasn't really rope. It was like, you know, that comfort you get when you're going through some stuff. You feel like you're laying on this wood yourself. You're like, I can't get myself out of this, so I'm just going to lay here till you come through and get me out of it. So he was wrapped up, tied up, tangled all up, and Jesus, because his dad said, yes. That's all right. So Abraham's yes literally sealed the deal. Can you imagine living your life committed to God and still having to place your child on the line? Maybe it's just me, but I can hear myself saying, God, take me instead. Look, it's just the two of us going up. We still have all the materials. Everything that you said we needed, we have. Just take him out of the equation. But Abraham knew it couldn't be. Yet Abraham must have known something that I would not have been able to process at that time. Because he had already said yes. I would have been an emotional wreck. And that's probably a telltale sign as to why God allowed me to be conceived in 88 and born in 89, because I couldn't do the Bible days, guys. I'm telling you right now. I know myself well enough to know I couldn't do the Bible days. The only thing I could have probably done is not wear shoes, because I don't like wearing shoes. So I could walk around. But all that stuff they went through, I don't think I'd be able to do it. But because God is who he is, he said, no, don't do it. Send it later. Because think about it. Abraham's 100 years old, killing his son that was promised to him. Story didn't end.
Amen.
We read it. They got up there. Isaac was bound. He was on the wood. You have to think at this time how close he was to the fire. The knife went up. The knife was coming down. God said, wait, pause, hold on, no, stop, look, listen, don't do it. I know I had, look, Abraham, you love me. I get it, stop, okay, I'm testing you. What kind of test? You wait till I'm about to slice my kid open. God, what kind of test? And I have to ask this in the way I speak because God and I have a certain type of communication, right? God, y'all was literally about to slice my kid open. And you had me doing this all because I said yes? You had me about to sacrifice my son? Sacrifice the one you promised to me? Sacrifice the one you said would take over all this land? Sacrifice the one you said would be the one to give me descendants? Sacrifice the one you said that would take over this land? Sacrifice my blood? You waiting to the last nanosecond to say don't do it? I didn't have to carry all this stuff all the way up the hill. This stuff is heavy. We could have talked about this down the hill. But God does that to us. We have to go through all of this mess because what are we going to do if it's too easy? I can do it. I got it. No, I'm good. I can make it happen. But instead, God says, no. I need you to listen to me. You're not going to listen till you go through some stuff. Because how often do we wait to pray until something goes wrong? All the time. You're going to answer the question. I know. I do the same thing sometimes. We have to go through all this stuff. We have to carry our load before we pray. We have to carry our load and get to the point of sacrifice before God says, all right, you listened. Yeah, you said yes to me all those years ago, but I had to take you through this because you stopped listening. You got too comfortable. You got used to listening to your friends, and I had to remind you of who I was. So at this place that he's literally about to slice his son open, at this place that he's literally saying, oh my goodness, I'm watching my child die. God says, stop, look over there. It's a whole bush with a whole animal. Y'all, who else knew about this place at that time and could get a ram up there? Nobody but God. Right. So I just had to put that there so we didn't think somebody just delivered this ram up this hill, right? So he had this ram in this bush. And God said, take that. Sacrifice it. Keep your son. So my yes saved my son. My yes healed my family. My yes kept me from danger. My yes allowed me to rescue somebody that didn't know they needed to be rescued. My yes sealed that deal. All of this because there was a day that Abram, before he was yet Abraham, said yes to God's will, God's way, God's direction, God's purpose, God's instruction. And this is just my opinion, but after reading the Bible, it seems to me that Abraham's will be back was a whisper into God's ear of remember your promise to God. Remember my offspring. Remember my descendants. Remember that I vowed to do my best for you. Remember that I had to put down my own reservations to agree to this. Just remember me, oh Lord. My yes sealed those deals. So God, remember me. Don't forget me at this time, God. I don't want to let my son go. Remember me, God. If Abraham went through all of that because he believed and trusted in God, I need to remind you that your sincereness to God sealed the deal for you. We will come out of this as something that we said as a church before we started our fast. Do y'all remember some of the things that came out of the fast? If you don't, I'll remind you. There was blood clots that disappeared. There were new jobs. There were individuals in the hospital that were able to sit up for the first time. There were individuals who were able to fix both of their cars at one time. We had 5 people people give their lives to Christ. There was individuals that had better communication with their family, lowered blood pressure with no more medication, peace in families, increased prayer life. People started understanding what their next moves were. Salary increases with no explanation. New apartments. Bill collector said debts are canceled. Family members were saved. Relationships restored. Good doctor report. No kidney disease. He started feeling better. And at that time, 15 new members. And this was all because we said we're going to give up something to say yes to God. So at the very beginning of our fast, our yes sealed the deal. And so we came out of that. Yes, we went through a lot of stuff. Yes, we had to sacrifice something we didn't want to sacrifice, but our yes sealed the deal for us. People came out of that blessed. People came out of that transformed. And even since then, we've had more people give their life to Christ. We've had more people be healed. We've had more people with clearer understanding. All because one day we said yes. And that yes sealed the deal. The moment your yes was heard by God, things started shifting. People started coming and going. God revealed promises to you that you couldn't imagine coming to pass.
All right.
Yes.
Amen.
Look at us now. We started up this mountain because God told us that it was time to sacrifice something precious to us for His sake. It really had nothing to do with us, you know? Nothing at all. We're special, but we ain't that important. He needed us to sacrifice something so that we can say, I believe in you. I believe that what you said to me will come to pass. I believe God. God, I believe that you can. God, I'm counting on you to do it. God, we have to show the world your word. I have to walk this thing out. God will bounce back from this. I may have to carry my own cross, God, but I'll make it. We may get scorched by the fire, but we'll be back. You may need to wrap me up just for a minute and put me in place, but I hear you, God. My faith is my commitment to your word, God. You may need to stop me for a second before I try to do things on my own. You may need to put me at the point of sacrifice before I really stop and listen. There was another young man in the Bible that kind of went through the same thing. He told God, look, yes, send me. I know I'm going to go through some stuff, but send me. This young man's name was Isaiah. I'm going to say he's our cousin Isaiah, all right? Because you know we're all family, right? So cousin Isaiah had this commission, and it's in Isaiah chapter 6. And it says, in the year that King Uzziah died, I saw the Lord high and exalted, seated on the throne, and the train of his robe filled the temple. Above him were seraphim, each with 6 wings. So there was something that was going to cover him. With 2 wings, they covered their faces. With 2, they covered their feet. And with 2, they were flying. And they were calling one to another, holy, holy, holy is the Lord Almighty. So the seraphim had sense to say, holy, holy, holy. And that holy, holy, holy was there, yes, to God. The whole earth is full of His glory. At the sound of their voices, the doorposts and the threshold shook, and the temple was filled with smoke. So something was coming in. There was something happening. There was a shifting taking place. Woe to me, I cried. I'm ruined, for I'm a man of unclean lips. How many of us does that sound like? We go through so much. We say some things that we don't need to say. And yet we say, God, help me, because I know I'm ruined. I know I'm not what I should be in you. God, help me. And I live among a people of unclean lips. My eyes have seen the King, the Lord Almighty. So Isaiah had already seen God work. Isaiah said, I know who I am, and I am unclean. God, help me. What do I need to do? Because I know this is you coming to me. Then one of the seraphim flew to me with a live coal in his hand, which he had taken with tongs from the altar. If he had to take it with tongs, that means it was hot. With it, he touched my mouth and said, see, this has touched your lips. Your guilt is taken away and your sin atoned for. Then I heard the voice of the Lord saying, whom shall I send and who will go for us? Isaiah simply said, and I said, here am I. Send me. So Isaiah had to go through all this. He had to go through the sacrifice of laying himself down. The word says lay down everything. You have to lay down your own bed. You have to lay down every sacrifice that God wants you to in order for you to sincerely be able to say, yes, here I am. send me. So we have a God that loves us enough and so much that he says, look, you got to go through some stuff. I know you're hurting. I know you may have to get a little bruised. I know you may have to get a little punctured. I know you have to get a little scared sometimes. But I need you to get to a point where you're saying, yes, Lord. Yes, Lord, I'll do it. Yes, Lord, I got it. Yes, Lord, I believe. Yes, Lord, keep me. Yes, Lord, save my family. Yes, Lord, allow me to get them. Yes, Lord. Because that yes sincerely seals the deal. There was a group in there older than me, so I know y'all gonna look at me kind of sideways when I say the name of the group, but they had a song that said, send me, I'll go. We probably still sing it often. They are the Canton Spirituals. Because I'm who I am and my parents are who they are, I know the song, all right? Just not gonna sing it. But the words say, Lord, I'll go if I have to go by myself. If my mother don't go, if my father don't go, if my sister don't go, nor my brother, Lord, I'll go. Yeah, I'll go by myself. Lord, I'll sing if I have to sing by myself. If my mother don't sing, if my father don't sing, if my sister don't sing, nor my brother don't sing, Lord, I'll sing if I have to sing by myself. Lord, I'll pray if I have to pray by myself. If my mother don't pray, if my father don't pray, if my sister don't pray, nor my brother, Lord, I'll pray if I have to pray by myself. Yeah, Lord, just send me. So yes, Lord, send me, I'll go. Yes, Lord, heal me, I'll tell about your goodness. Yes, Lord, keep me, I'll tell them who you are. Yes, Lord, love me, I'll love you even more. Yes, Lord, guide me, I'll walk your walkway. Yes, Lord, mend my broken heart, I will keep loving. Yes, Lord, fix my mind, I'll keep my mind stayed on you. Yes, Lord, give me a voice, I'll forever sing your praise. Yes, Lord, this yes sealed the deal. You promised me, you said you keep me. Lord, this yes has sealed the deal.
How did I know he would come through for me? Experience taught me to trust and believe. What I'm sure of right now, I've learned way back then. Oh my Lord, yes.